I am heading to my 10-year high school reunion. My time in high school wasn't the most seemingly pleasant for me. When I was a sophomore in high school, I transferred from this really small private school with about 200 students in it that I felt pretty comfortable in to this very large public school with about 1,600 students in it, where I was never comfortable and it felt like social anxiety just had a grip around my throat. I never made any true friends at the school, but I'll say I made a few acquaintances. 10 years later, I decided to go to my high school reunion from the school that I spent sophomore to senior year in high school at. You know, the school that I didn't have any friends at and pretty much spent my time hiding under the radar the entire time? Yeah, that one. I want to tell you my experience of going to this reunion. Before getting into it, if you don't know my story or if you haven't watched my TED Talk, go watch just the first 5 minutes of it, get a feel for my story so you can really understand the discomfort that I went through going to this high school reunion. I found out about my 10-year high school reunion a couple months ago, and I immediately felt discomfort when I found out about it. There were 400 students in my graduating class, and I only spoke to a handful of them. There were a few students that would at least say hi to me, or maybe even get to know me a little bit and ask me some questions, but for the most part, wasn't a whole lot of talking to Kyle, and I didn't talk to anybody else. Now, when I say few, there's a few people, I really mean few, as in like 3 or so people. I decided pretty quickly that I was going to go to this reunion even though I felt pretty uncomfortable about the whole thing. Most of the people in my graduating class went to school together, their whole lives, or at least since middle school. I knew these people for only a few years, and even during those few years I stayed under the radar the entire time and talked to very few people. So I knew that most people would not know who the heck I was, which was a weird feeling, driving up to a high school reunion. So I get to the event space, which was basically like this giant warehouse that had been converted into a bar, and it had a stage for people to play music and tables set up and games, all that kind of stuff. Now my plan in going to this reunion was to find at least a couple people that made a big impact on my life in high school and just let them know and thank them for being nice and kind to me and going out of their way to, show me love. So I walk in and I'm scoping out the joint. There's a little bit of people here, not very many people there yet. And I recognize some people, but just recognize them in passing, right? Not people that I actually talk to. Then I see him, Brian, one of the few people who had a positive impact on my life in high school. I go over to approach Brian, but before I tell you what happened, I want to explain to you how Brian made a huge positive impact on my life in high school, at least for a short time period. One quarter during my sophomore year in high school, which I guess amounts to a month and a half, maybe 2 months, Brian and I had an English class together. It was a weird thing where we would go to class and then we'd break in the middle of it for lunch, and then we would go back to that class. Now, Brian was a very outgoing individual. He could talk to anybody and everybody seemed to know who he was. And for whatever reason, he invited me to eat lunch with him every day. We would eat lunch rather quickly and then spend 20 minutes or so just kind of roaming the halls and talking. I'm pretty sure he did most of the talking. This seems like not a very big deal from the outside, but to me this was a huge thing for me, a huge break. And let me tell you why. Lunch was the worst part of school for me because I didn't know where to sit. The cafeteria would be so packed every day that it would be impossible to sit by yourself. You had to find someone to sit next to. In fact, my first day ever at this school, I go to the cafeteria, get my lunch tray, and I'm walking around looking for somewhere to sit, and I'm sweating bullets because I don't know where to sit. I don't know anyone in this sea of people. I just feel so uncomfortable right now. But I know I can't just stand here with my tray. Everyone's just staring at me. So I muster up the courage and I walk up to this random group of students and I say, "Hey, can I sit with y'all? I don't really know a whole lot of people here." And they were friendly enough and said, "Sure, yeah, come sit over here." But within 30 seconds, they all got up and left me there by myself. I can't express to you how much of a loser I felt like at that moment. So Brian being nice enough to hang out with me, even if only for a month and a half or so, was a lifesaver. So back to the reunion. I spot Brian, I walk up to him and I say, "Is it Philip Shekel?" He chuckled and said, "No, it's Brian Shekel." Started out real strong by forgetting his first name but remembering his last, but we had a good laugh about it. He kind of squinted at me as if, he's trying to remember who I am. Understandable. It's been over 10 years. So I said, "Do you remember me? There was a time where we had English together and we used to, eat lunch and then kind of roam the halls and just talk." Then he replied, "No, what's your name?" So I tell him, Kyle Mitchell. And he's like, "No, I still don't remember you." I'm kind of shocked that he doesn't remember me, but not super discouraged by it. I said something like, "That's all right. I just wanted to let you know you were a lifesaver for me in high school, man. During that English class, you made my life bearable during that time. I just want to tell you thank you." So he replied, I'm glad whatever I did to help you, it was helpful for you. And then everybody just kind of started talking with each other around the table again. It wasn't the interaction I was hoping for, honestly, because I thought he'd remember me and we'd have like a good, little back and forth type of thing, but that wasn't the case. And I didn't mention this to him, but one time him and his brother actually picked me up from my house and we went to the YMCA, worked out, and then we went to his house and played pool and played basketball. And the only reason I didn't mention it to him to try and jog his memories was because I didn't want to make him feel embarrassed for not remembering me, even though I came over to his house. I mean, that was only a one-time thing, but yeah, I don't know. I thought he would remember me, but at the same time, I didn't want to embarrass him. It was okay. I accomplished the mission. So I continued talking to the rest of the people at this table that I graduated with. I remembered all of them except for one person I did not remember. And after talking to every single person, not one person remembered who I was. Not even Brian's wife, who went to high school with us, and I even had a class with her in college. And I even remember having a conversation with her about how, me and Brian used to hang out for a short period of time during high school and about how he really helped me out type of thing. So I thought she'd remember me, especially after reiterating the story to Brian about how he helped me. I thought that would kind of click in her mind, but I guess not. And I hope this goes without saying, but no hate on them for not remembering who I was. Totally cool. And I totally understand, as it was a short time period. I didn't talk a whole lot. I didn't make an impression on hardly anyone. Like I said, I was under the radar. After talking to everybody at the table, I kind of started walking around trying to spot a couple other people that I wanted to talk to and have a similar conversation like I did with Brian, but I never did see them. After a while, I was pretty socially and just mentally pooped and decided to just head on home. What was very interesting about this uncomfortable challenge was that my brain was right this time. A lot of times our brains will cycle very, negative or unlikely situations to happen, when we start to feel anxious. I mean, the whole way to the reunion, I'm just thinking, this is going to be kind of weird because I doubt anyone is going to remember me. And I'm having these thoughts in my head like, these people don't even know who you are, Kyle. And probably that is a lot true. And what do you know? My brain was right. Of course it was, though. It was actually producing very rational thoughts. There's no reason I would be remembered. I basically hid the entire time during high school. You know what, though? I'm glad I went. Even though Brian didn't remember me, even though no one that I talked to remembered me, I put out the effort to go out and do something uncomfortable. Something that I didn't have to do, which was to relive the most uncomfortable and anxious time of my life, high school. I did that. Yeah. Me. And I survived. And I'm so happy and proud of myself for the progress that I've made up to this point in my life. And I'm no longer controlled by social anxiety. Thank you, me, for not giving up. I would like to take this last bit of time to thank Brian Shekel again, as well as the two other people I really wanted to see so I could thank them in person for the impact that they had on my life. Even if they never see this, I want to be able to say it out loud in case I never get the chance to say it to their face. Thank you DJ Lips and Catherine Brewer. I can't explain to you the impact that you had on my life in school. Your conversation and kindness towards me, which you didn't have to do, was such a positive impact on my life and made high school bearable for me. You all quite literally saved my life and helped me get to the point that I'm at. So thank you. Take note of this for you all watching. Being kind to someone can be the biggest difference in someone's life. And it doesn't cost money to be kind to someone. So I hope in all this you get the message of go out and, focus on your effort. I hope you got that from this story. And easy one, just be kind to people. The smallest and simplest of things can be the hugest difference on someone's life. And that's what happened for me at my high school reunion.